welcome back to World of Skimmer and Deep Sea Mining, a novel series set in 2040 where the deep sea mining industry is well established. 3 books are out now: Skimmer Deep Sea, Skimmer Harvest, Skimmer Mine, with book 4, Skimmer Tic Tac, coming out later this year, which, as I've said in previous podcasts, alludes to the fact that there is some sort of high technology or retrofitted technology involved in this industry, where mining is a backdrop to some more significant and deeper plots around the rise of AI and use of acquired inertial mass reduction drives from recovered or retrieved crash retrievals of UFOs or UAPs. At the moment in the podcast, we're really getting into the characters, sort of 10, 11, 12, up to 14 key characters across the novel series, which consists of 6 books. So today I thought we'd talk about a guy called Chang. Chang, of course, by his name, he's Chinese, or comes from a Chinese family. Now, he's on the Skimmer, or Nara Skimmer as one of the crew, and one of the crew of about 6 key people in there. And now Chang is studying alongside a woman called Stella, who's an extract technician or drone mining technician. So she looks after the drones on board, the 12 drones that are deployed 4,000 meters below to get these nodules, and Chang is studying alongside her, so he's kind of a recent addition to the crew. Now he's in a training role with Stella, and in terms of personality, he's quite a key character in the series, because a lot of the plot revolves around his family and the conflict that arises between 2 forms of AI, one from the Chinese and one from Exed Academy, that Connor, of course, comes up with. And so we look a bit more at his personality now. He's quite an angry young man, and I'll go into why in more detail soon. But also very obtuse towards Stella, or females in general. That may be his background and his culture, kind of placing females second to him, and that's something he has to overcome in working alongside his fellow team members. Now he's also very jealous of Connor. Now Connor's the information officer who's on the autism spectrum. Now he comes up with this AI that everyone's trying to get their hands on to make extract mining drones fully autonomous. Now, because he's involved in script libraries, that's Connor, is involved in script libraries, programming, and the use of natural language processing with the help of the Skimmer system artificial intelligence. Chang becomes quite jealous of that, because he, of course, is working alongside Stella with the extract mining drones and into programming, coding, and improving drone operations too. But of course, when Connor comes across how to solve all that problem with AI and his Red Queen and his sphere, or the sphere of Gilgamesh he calls it, that makes Chang quite jealous of his discovery, given his role on the Skimmer. And that plays out between the characters, because Chang becomes quite nasty at various points in the series towards Connor. Now that's all tied up in the plot as well, so we've got to go into a bit of family background about the circumstances surrounding Chang, of course, because he becomes manipulated as the son of Dr. Sign, who is the Chief Operations Officer of GlobeCorpMining and the Harvester. Now he's also, his dad's also got a daughter on there who's a senior laboratory researcher, and she's the one that's advocating for this other form of AI that they've come up with, which is like a giant risk optimizer, optimizing mining at the expense of everything else, including human life. So you've got this big ethical debate going on about how much oversight humans have when they control AI from one side compared to the other. So Chang's sister works on the Harvester, and his father is very high up in GlobeCorpMining. Now, how Chang ended up in the Skimmer program is because his dad got him into that program because of all the issues that Chang had around family history and where his anger comes from. Now, his anger comes from the fact that his mother Dr. Ning Lee. You'll recognise that name if you're into a lot of historical narratives around anti-gravity research. But Dr. Ning Lee is Dr. Sign's wife, and she has an accident when they were younger, and Chang blames his dad for that accident, and that's where his anger is seated or comes from, and he never really gets over it until later in the series when he starts to have to overcome a lot of conflict and issues that his team confronts along the way. And of course he's coerced into trying to steal the AI on board the Skimmer off Connor in reward for honour and prestige, because he's all about maintaining face or honour given his background. And despite his anger at his father, he's looking to please his father while also being angry with him, to show that he doesn't need his dad to succeed in life, even though he suspects that getting into the Skimmer program, that his father had something to do with that. So there's a lot of deep-seated anger there around all this. And what we can't quite figure out, or Chang can't quite figure out, to what extent his sister is involved in this other AI, which they're trying to wipe out or get rid of, because of course we're not quite sure whether Yingwei wants to join the two AIs together, or whether she's just trying or going along with the program in order to just optimize their own AI technology on the harvester to revolutionize production and processing operations. But they do have a skimmer on there that they're experimenting with, so they've got a big AI lab or technical lab on the back of the harvester at the stern, and they do have a skimmer there, and eventually they end up in one way or another through Sue, who's the great protagonist in the series, and we'll get to her later, with a skimmer that has the sphere or red queen program on there that gets integrated with their AI. Now Chang's all tied up in that, of course, through his sister and his family connections, and he gets pulled all sorts of ways as we go through the novel series. So he's got to deal with that, overcome being manipulated, stand up and become confident in himself and who he is, and deal with or confront his anger around his family background and what's happened to him. So of course he still blames his father for his mother's illness, and their mother is gravely ill, and I won't say what happens later on in the series into book 4 and 5, but that becomes quite a factor in the background around the family and what's going on through all the ups and downs as the plot unfolds. Now of course he's angry at the world, Chang is, so he's angry at everyone, and he gets used a lot and makes bad choices or the wrong choices, but he always regrets those choices, and he has to overcome the lack of trust in him by the crew. Now, the crew's got to build their trust in him, because every time he stuffs up, he's got to come back from that and prove his worth to the crew, while also feeling like he's not honouring his family background, while at the same time being angry about what's happened to his family. So he's a little jealous of his sister and angry at his dad. He's jealous of Connor, and he becomes a bit of a bully as well. So it's a long road of ups and downs. And of course Johnny on board, Big Johnny, he doesn't like bullies either. So he takes issue with the way Chang treats Connor on board, and even the way he speaks to Stella sometimes. So they have quite a confrontation in there that Nara and Jesse, the senior people in charge on there, especially Jesse as communications and security officer, and she has to deal with the fallout of all Chang's issues on board. Now Chang, of course, he runs around the ocean always moaning about being in a giant tin can and doesn't care much for it, doesn't care much for the overdrive trials, and thinks it's all just a big waste of time. Especially when they get caught up in everything else but mining, as conflict within the area continues to rise. So Chang has to overcome his own self-doubts and step up and become a key player in the whole conflict that unfolds around the AI and completion of the inertial mass reduction overdrive trials. And he has to deal with that while at the same time confronting how Johnny thinks of him, or sees him as a bully, and how he treats the other crew members. So he's quite a pivotal character, or plays a key role on board the Skimmer, with all the dynamics between the crew and their personalities, and on one hand, and Chang's family history on the other hand, and that all comes together into quite a melting pot around the rise of AI and completion of the overdrive trials that are going on. So that's it really. Chang sits there in the forefront of this, with his family, with GlobeCorpMining and the Harvester. We've got his interaction with the other characters and his own background, and he has to confront and deal with all that as the plot unfolds through books 1, 2 and 3. Now by book 4, Chang becomes quite integrated into the crew, and they start to trust him a lot more, especially into book 5, when you see the role that he plays as we get to the climax in book 6, and how everything comes together and unfolds through the plot, and we find out what's really going on, and Chang becomes more and more important, and especially in his ability to overcome the disparity between his relationship with his father and anger over their mother, his relationship with his sister on board the Harvester, and also the relationships he has with all the crew members on board the Skimmer, and the perception Exceed Ocean Academy has of him, of course, through Rick and Jonah, very senior members in Exceed Ocean Academy that put all these crews together through the crew training program. So he kind of falls from grace a few times and has to redeem himself, and he does redeem himself, and you'll see that as you read through the novels. So there's quite a backdrop of things going on there. We've got inertial mass reduction trials through Project Cygnus. We've got deep sea mining operations in the area, and just all that entails in day-to-day operations, both by contractors and their skimmers, lease and tenure holders, and the Harvester. And in the background there is the PLA Navy and the protagonist Sue. And we've got Chang involved in that, and what he thinks of Sue, although he keeps a little bit quiet about what he really thinks about Sue, because we're not quite sure if there's a family connection with Sue somewhere, and we kind of start seeing that or figuring that out in the end of book 5 into book 6, where Sue actually fits in, and why Chang's father keeps her around after doing so many nasty things as she goes rogue. So that becomes apparent in book 6, and then the family background becomes apparent, and Chang's role in that is brought forward as well. So I'll leave it there for now with Chang, and we'll talk about some more characters soon, and I hope you stay with us with the World of Skimmer podcast Into the Unknown. As we get through the characters, we'll get more and more into the depth and background around the inertial mass reduction drives and some other really exciting things going on with the whole history behind that, given what's going on around the world at the moment. And this World of Skimmer is built on all that into a novel series that's taken all that stuff that's going on at the moment with UFOs and UAPs in the deep sea mining industry into the World of Skimmer book series. So I hope you enjoy it, stay with us, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.